sees a sliver of the universe through a pinhole, thinks it understands all that is and all that will be, and it will. Because a god makes sense of what it sees despite what it should be. The light illuminates, and it blinds. It thinks, and therefore we are. It thinks, and therefore we are.
This video is the eyes only of Mr. Mark E. Plier, aka Mark Fishmark, whoever the fuck that is. I have watched your film twice, and do I understand what has happened in that film? Yes! I shall recite to you what happens in the film in the form of haiku. Ocean full of blood. Convict in jank submarine. Fucked up fish explodes. That is a summary of what happens in Iron Lung. However, that's not quite good enough, is it? I don't know what happens in Iron Lung. And actually, many people on the internet are confused as well. But I believe, truly, if I submerge myself in the ocean of blood and dive into the film, maybe, I will be able to decode what the fuck happened in Iron Lung.
Alfie, I have a mission for you. It's of the utmost importance.
Yeah?
I need to understand what happens in Iron Lung. What is the plot?
Oh. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can explain that.
Yeah. The entire plot of Iron Lung. Simple. So, we begin with Simon. No. The inciting incident is the Quiet Rapture, and it made all of the planets, all of the habitable planets, and the stars just kind of poof. And so, that's scary as fuck. Fast forward some time, they found this blood moon called AT5. That I got from the wiki. And they've sent this guy called Simon on a submarine that they've welded him to go explore the moon because it's full of blood. Oh, he's also a convict. Fuck. There are different cults / groups, one of them being Eden, a space station that was orbiting Mars which has the last tree. And that's where our main character Simon grows up, kind of a death cult, launches an attack, filament station. Oops! That's bad! Oh no! He then gets captured by the COI, or the Consolidation of Iron. They go, hey, do you want to go down in this little submarine? You won't die! When do I get to talk about the harness? Anyway, he's in the submarine, and he's like, oh, wait, yo, there's a fucking skeleton. A guy gets fucking blasted with radiation, and he's like, oh, I gotta go back down in the tube! And he smashes his head on the floor, and it's great. He gets knocked out like 5 times in this movie. There's a real big evil fish monster down here, and it wants to eat me, and he sees, in the meantime, of the black box. And then he finds bandages, he bandages up his arms. I'm in a cave. The porthole is open, so he has to save the black box that has all the data from the other ship that's now on his ship, and then he wraps it in a life jacket, and then he explodes the submarine whilst the big fish is eating him, and then the data is saved, and that's the end of the movie. Done. Easy. No questions asked.
That didn't make any sense at all. What about the leaf thing? And there was a ghost there as well, or some shit?
Oh, well, yeah, there was like a fish guy who looked like Simon.
And wait, doesn't he start hearing voices that are not coming from the speaker because it's broken? This, I don't understand. I think I need more from you. I think we're gonna need you to go deeper.
Do I have to?
This is more important than both of us.
You're right. This is for Markiplier. And if I explain it well, I can stop thinking about this?
Yes, of course. Of course, Alfie. We'll let you go.
We're gonna go deeper. We're gonna go deeper. We're gonna go deeper. To understand what happens in Iron Lung, instead of just talking about the plot, we can talk about the symbolism within the plot. As a props person myself, I have like a very special interest in how the set and the things that the characters interact with affect the story. For example, the knife holster. It's something that we see in one of the very first shots of the movie, and it's in the last shot of the movie. It is the knife holster we see him stroking as he goes down in the submarine. Simon is deeply attached to this one holster. It's perfect, it's clean, it's polished, it's black, it's not at all ripped apart or anything. Unlike the rest of his clothing, which is in shambles, the knife holster is perfect. He cares for this. And we even see him tearing it off bits of clothing and then adding them to... She's gonna come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there she is. We even see him taking this particular holster off items of clothing and adding it to himself later. This holster is so deeply important to the character. But why? Well, I think it's the one thing that reminds him of his mother. Simon doesn't really give a shit about the voice or the light or anything. He just really wants to survive. The only time the light actually gets to him is when it starts ragging on his mum and says, was the only thing she ever taught you death. My theory is that this holster was given to him on Eden. We see a shot of his child self holding this knife surrounded by bodies, like a gift bestowed upon him. 13 lives worth of blood on his hands before Filament Station. He was nicknamed the Butcher. This man has a knife that was probably taken away from him, but the holster that he held it in symbolizes something more important. His determination. Simon's determination to live is prevalent throughout the whole movie. One of my favorite lines that he gives is, "I just want to live." Is that so wrong? He has nothing left to give. Beans! He just wants to live, is that so wrong? One of my favorite lines in the whole movie, because it shows his character. This guy wants to keep going. He was brought up in a death cult. He is witness to one of the most tragic events in the whole universe. He is sent into a sea of human blood where he hears his brother say, "I'd fucking end it because I can't go on." Constantly he comes up against these things of like, I can't get out of here, but I'm still gonna try. And he holds on to the knife holster while he does this. And then right at the end, he needs to attach the black box to this life jacket. So he wraps round this knife holster. It secures it into the life jacket. This thing that he was holding on to, this semblance of life, living for his mother, living for where he came from, holding on to that hope, that is the last thing that he lets go of before he decides he's gonna suicide bomb that fucking fish. Like, yes, this film is about the human determination to keep going despite all the odds, and only when the odds are so heavily stacked against you that you are literally dying and becoming one with a fucking craft, sort of like melting into your own submarine. It's okay to give up then, I guess. But he doesn't until then, and it's desperately impressive. Another prop that's really interesting is that little seed pendant, a seed of the Tree of Eden that sprouted a little leaf. She is. You are trying so hard to be in this. You want to be in this? She's so annoyed at me. He has this fucking little pendant and it's on glass and he puts it around his wrist so it's dangling and going everywhere and it's smashing against the metal console, and when it breaks he's sad about it. I'm like, yeah, no shit. You just put a glass thing on a little bit of string and flung it about. Bro, at least put it in your juicy, juicy tits. This pendant is left by a previous brother of Eden. And what's interesting is that we can see that Simon had a similar pendant. He has a bracelet that has a little broken metal sprig thing that you can see that maybe something was ripped off there. I think that was a seed of Eden that he was carrying around himself. But he has this new one, which is great, and he wraps it around his wrist, and it means a lot to him. But the seed itself is fascinating because we actually see it do things. When he looks into the light, he himself bursts forth from the submarine, and we see him rise above the blood ocean and look into the eye, and something happens there. But something else that happens is the pendant that's stuck beneath the blood. He looks down and it's rooted all the way through into the depths of the ocean. And that's fascinating. What this tells me is that the eye can see DNA and replicate it. Replicate it a lot. And I'm assuming since it's looking at so much human DNA, that's how all of this blood and blood eel came about. And maybe it looked at the pendant and went, yes, a seed, DNA, I'm gonna make that happen 400 times. Maybe this is the God making sense of the universe. It goes, oh, I see. Blood, I can make more of it. But it doesn't make any sense. At the end of the film, when the submarine explodes in the mouth of the monster, we see more roots taking place. More roots going up out of the submarine. Also, Simon gets stuck to either side of the sub, and this root-like flesh sort of sticks his hands and body to it. Over the X that continually makes the radiation camera go off, that becomes roots. I don't know if this means the tree of Eden is now on the planet, or if the blood is becoming like a tree? Or maybe just veins look like trees. Something is happening with that pendant. I think it's really important, but I can't figure it out. But that makes sense, right?
You're so close. I think we almost understand it. But I need more. I need to know how this fits into the great story. You know, stories from the past.
Old stories. Of fucking course! The Bible! The Book of Revelations. It's the last book in the New Testament. It's a weird one, and I'd never read it until I watched Iron Lung. And when I did read it, I fell asleep 3 times, because it's hard to it's dense, bro. It's really fucking dense. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. Is number 612 in the Bible. There's loads of passages like this which explain how the Son of God, or maybe God himself, turns oceans into blood. By the way, I got this because of Iron Lung to try and figure out what was going on. I mean, the last tree of Eden, the quiet rapture, a guy called Simon. There are 9 Simons in the New Testament! Why did you put 9 Simons in the New Testament? Can we just... some original character names? Come on. Tolkien could do it. Tolkien couldn't do it. He has loads of guys who are just named the same thing. It's really annoying. I had to figure some shit out. While I was reading the New Testament and looking at the different Simons, I sort of brought him down to 3. He was either Simon the Zealot, Simon Jesus' brother, or Simon Peter, who is the most famous Simon in the Bible. We'll go in that order. Simon the Zealot is an apostle, one of the disciples. Apostle literally meaning one who is sent. Simon is sent down in the submarine. The apostle was sent to say the word of God. there could be something there. But also, Simon the Zealot, there wasn't much about him. He's deeply argued about whether he was actually a guy who was just really zealous or a guy who was part of a sect that was quite violent. No one actually agrees on this, and if they do, they fight about it anyway. He could be Jesus's brother. I think there is some fucking symbolism there, but also Simon, Jesus's brother, is mentioned, like, once. And there's not much to go on there. Maybe he could be Simon Peter, Jesus's best friend and possibly homoerotic pal. I think he might be a good one. Firstly, because he's a fisherman. And this takes place in an ocean. And there's a fish. And then, he's a guardian of the gate to heaven. He's interesting because, like Simon, he's so close to the afterlife. Like, Simon is in a ocean full of human blood. He is deciding the fates of many people. You could argue that Simon, as a butcher, is like Simon Peter because of the lives that are in his hands. Or he could not be a Simon at all. He could be Jesus, or the Antichrist, or an angel, maybe? Although, here's another thing. I think the monster is an angel. Because, look at it. Have you ever heard of a biblically accurate angel? They're fucking weird in here. I mean, hundreds of teeth, loads of eyes. Have you seen the amount of eyes on that eel? Disgusting. I think the monster was created by the god which is the light which is a fragment of a god. But there's something in the film that confuses me, right? When Simon looks upon the light, it doesn't interact with him like it obviously interacted with the people on the SM-8. Like, the people on the SM-8 saw the light and it crushed their minds like ticks. They lost it. They loved the light, they hated the light. They were changed irrevocably by the light. Simon looks at the light, and the light says, I see you.
I see you. I see you.
And he says, I see you.
Agreed.
And the light says, agreed. There is some exchange that happens there. Something that is unknowable, unquantifiable. I can't tell you what happens there. Fucking cosmic horror. How am I supposed to know how a cosmic entity interacts with a human? Even the Bible couldn't tell me, even if I did read all of it, which I didn't, because look at how fucking big this book is, and I had a week! It's fine. I think that Bible hit me really hard. I think I have a concussion. Okay, it's fine. But through a religious context, Simon is a guy who is from the Bible, maybe. And the monster is an angel. And that is what the story is about. And it's not about human determination or the will to live. It's about, Jesus. Yeah? Yeah?
Alfie,
Oh, please.
listen, I know you're in pain, but it sounds like you're so close, and this is so important. It's so much more important than the both of us. I need to understand. I need to understand what the fucking deal is with this movie.
I just want to stop thinking about this. I don't know what's happening in the movie. It's really weird. And I'm not that smart. I make art. I'm an artist. I make cool sets and cool outfits. And I don't know. I'm not good at thinking about cinematography. Or scripts.
We need you to keep going. You're so close. We can feel it. This is so much bigger than either of us.
Stop saying that! I don't care if it was the number one movie in America or it's had more fucking independent cinema showings than The Passion of fucking Christ. I just want this to be over. I have a theory. It's stupid. Maybe it's correct, I don't know. You decide. The crew of the SMA weren't eaten by the monster. They became the monster. When they looked at the light, not only did it snap their minds, but it kind of snapped a picture of them. The light is a thinking entity, we know this. It saw them in a machine that looked like it had teeth, and saw them dying in there. And it wanted them to live. I think the light, the thing that caused the quiet rapture, I think it didn't mean for it to happen. I think it was an accident. Almost exactly like Filament Station. The gods saw the humans and really didn't want to kill any others. And it said, I'm sorry. And it decided to make them into something that would survive. Something that's an amalgamation of the human DNA that's in the bottom of that ocean. That looks a bit like the submarine they were in. That is full of their consciousness. The monster doesn't kill Simon. We see at the end, it's so easy for it to just fucking get him. But instead, it slithers around, even though he punches it in the face with the little grabby thing. It doesn't kill him. It's annoyed, sure. Throws him around a bit. Takes him back to the cave, but it doesn't hurt him. The only time it actually tries to hurt him is when he tries to show the light to the rest of the world. He tries to give the information, the coordinates of the thing that made the monster into a monster to the rest of humanity. I think the lead researcher just really didn't want that to happen to anyone else and tried to kill him because of that. But unlike those researchers, when Simon looked at the light, something else happened. Something wonderful happened. It didn't see him as a tick to be squashed. It saw him as an equal.
Agreed.
I see you. I see you. Agreed. They agree to something. And what they agree to, I think, is Simon's godhood. At the end of the movie, we see Simon's eyes light up and glow, like that of the eye that saw him. I think the tree and Simon and the submarine started to meld together, create something new. I think the god went, you know what? These fucking things, if I put them together, they'll create something. They'll create something that could wish back humanity. Because Simon wants the rest of humanity to live. He says, isn't it easier to imagine that all the space stations disappeared? Isn't that easier to believe? And if a god believes it, it's true. If Simon ascended to godhood, then humanity could be saved. And I think the god, the light that sees him, understands that. I think at the end, when he kills the monster, he becomes part of the ship and part of the tree of Eden, and that explodes and kills it. He becomes a new angel, a beautiful angel. I was listening to a street preacher the other day outside my nearest tube station. And she talked about how the blood of Christ can make you a new creature. human blood, the god, the physical transformation we see at the end. I'm fairly certain he's an angel. A horrifying angel filled with loathing and grief and guilt. But the ultimate sinner is also the ultimate healer. Someone who wishes so badly things could be different. Who lives in fantasy, who accepts death, who has known blood on its own hands. I think this creature, Simon, could be the salvation that humanity needs. I think Simon is a god. I think Simon is a god, and the movie is about the determination of humanity, and the fact is that we'll keep trying no matter what. And I think I've done it. That makes sense. I've made it make sense. Hello? Hang on, something's wrong.
A god sees the world through a pinhole and tries to make sense of it. The light saw Simon. Simon saw the light. I saw a cinema screen and you see me through this screen. We are all trying to make sense of our universe through the pinhole of experience that we have. Do I know what happened in Iron Man? Maybe. Perhaps I am also an ignorant god.
Please, I solved it! I solved it! I don't have much time!
Thank you so much for watching. Markiplier is a wonderful creator of his own world, and we are the ignorant god that watches through the sliver of a cinema screen. I am the even more stupid god and creator of this world, which you are wonderfully observing through whatever screen you're using. I want to thank you for watching. This is the first YouTube video I'm making, which is since university, and since I had an idea of what kind of actually I wanted to make. I'm proud of it. I want to say thank you to Cassie, who's behind the camera, who's helping me out, and has helped this. I want to say thank you to Markiplier for making a movie that genuinely has like grabbed my brain, and I love it so much. And no, I have no idea what's going on. Psych, this video was pointless.